Ethan stumbled over the uneven pavement, his boots clattering against the glowing stones of the alien city. The sky above was a swirling mix of green and violet, clouds moving in patterns that seemed almost alive. He tightened his jacket around him, but it did little to shield him from the chill of the night. His ship had broken down hours ago, leaving him stranded on this foreign world with nowhere to go. Every building he passed glimmered with lights, but the entrances were guarded or closed. Humans were rare here and strangers, even more so. He had tried asking for shelter, but each attempt ended the same way: suspicion, polite refusals, and at worst, dismissive stares. Even when he showed his identification and explained he was a traveler, the alien clerks seemed wary. Their eyes, large and reflective, studied him as if he were an insect under a microscope. Ethan knew he had to keep moving. Staying in one place would make him an easy target for trouble. The streets were emptying as the hour grew late. Most of the city's inhabitants retreated to their homes or the high towers that stretched toward the swirling sky. Ethan's stomach growled, reminding him he had not eaten since morning. He scanned the street ahead, hoping for some sign of hospitality, but found none. The neon signs flickered overhead, advertising things he did not understand: foods, devices, even entertainment that seemed far beyond human imagination. Every alley he approached was either barred by a glowing force field or shadowed by guards. Desperation began to gnaw at him. He had always prided himself on staying calm in strange situations, but tonight was different. The night was cold, the city was silent, and the sense of isolation pressed down on him. Ethan considered finding a small corner or abandoned structure to rest in, but even that felt unsafe. The city was alive with unseen watchers, their sensors probably scanning for anomalies like him. He rounded a corner and froze. Ahead of him, a palace-like structure towered over the city, its walls shining like polished crystal under the strange light. Towering spires reached toward the swirling clouds, and soft lights floated around the building, illuminating intricate patterns etched into the walls. He could hear faint music or vibration coming from within, a rhythm that felt almost soothing, like the heartbeat of the building itself. For the first time since arriving, Ethan felt a flicker of hope. He approached cautiously, unsure if humans were even allowed near such a place. As he drew closer, he realized the entrance was unguarded, yet the air seemed charged, almost humming. He stopped a few steps away, unsure of what to do. Then, out of the shadows, a voice whispered directly into his mind, or so it seemed, so clear and gentle that it startled him. "Stay in my room tonight." Then the whisper came again, soft and melodic, filling the space around him without seeming to come from anywhere. "Stay in my room tonight," the voice repeated. He swallowed hard, torn between fear and curiosity. The words were compelling, soothing yet urgent. He had no idea who or what was speaking, yet something about the voice carried authority, kindness, and trust all at once. Ethan knew he had nowhere else to go, and the idea of warmth, shelter, and safety was almost irresistible. Gathering his courage, he took a tentative step toward the palace. The doors seemed to sense his presence. With a gentle hum, they opened inward, revealing a wide hall bathed in soft light. The walls shimmered with images that shifted and moved, like living paintings. Alien symbols floated in the air, rearranging themselves as Ethan's eyes passed over them. The floor beneath his feet was smooth, almost like liquid crystal, and the faint vibration of the building seemed to resonate with his own heartbeat. Ethan hesitated again. He was a stranger, alone, and completely out of place. Yet the voice, ethereal, gentle, impossible to ignore, encouraged him forward. Step by step, he moved deeper into the palace, careful not to touch anything, afraid of breaking some unknown rule. The hall opened into a large chamber, circular and filled with light that seemed to have no source. In the center of the room, standing on a platform that appeared to float above the floor, was a figure unlike any Ethan had ever seen. She was tall and slender, with skin that glimmered faintly under the soft light. Her eyes were large and luminous, a deep shade that shifted between sapphire and violet. Her hair floated slightly around her head, as if moved by some unseen current. She was dressed in flowing garments that seemed to merge with the light around her, elegant yet practical. When she smiled, it was like the sun breaking through clouds, warm and inviting. "You came," she said, her voice clear now, no longer a whisper. "I was hoping you would. Tonight you are my guest." The walls displayed images of alien landscapes, cities, and creatures, all alive with motion. Ethan's eyes widened. He had never imagined worlds like these. His mind raced, wondering how much there was to learn, how little he knew about the galaxy beyond his own planet. The room she led him to was smaller than the grand halls he had passed, but no less remarkable. It was softly lit, with walls that pulsed gently with light and furniture that seemed almost alive, adjusting to his presence. A bed-like structure floated above the floor, emitting warmth and comfort. Ethan felt a wave of relief wash over him. He was exhausted, hungry, and alone, but this room, this strange palace, promised safety. Liara, he learned that was her name, smiled at him. "You must be tired, rest, eat if you wish. Tomorrow we will talk more, tonight you are safe." As he settled into the floating bed, he allowed himself to relax, for the first time feeling a sense of belonging, however temporary. Even as he drifted toward sleep, Ethan's mind raced with questions. Who was this princess, really? Why had she chosen to help him? What dangers lurked beyond the palace walls? And most importantly, how could a human like him survive, and perhaps thrive, on a world so different from his own? Outside, the city hummed quietly, alive and alert, but for Ethan there was only this moment. A warm room, soft light, and the knowledge that he was not entirely alone. The whisper of the alien princess's voice lingered in his mind. "Stay in my room tonight." It was a simple phrase, but for him, it carried the weight of hope, trust, and the beginning of an adventure he could never have imagined. He closed his eyes, letting sleep take him, and in the quiet of the palace, he dreamed of stars, alien skies, and a world that suddenly felt a little less dangerous, a little more full of possibility. Ethan woke to a soft, warm light filling the room. The gentle hum of the palace seemed to pulse in rhythm with his heartbeat. For a moment he lay still, letting the comfort of the floating bed and the serene glow calm his mind. The events of the night before, the streets, the cold, the strange whisper, felt like a dream. And yet the presence of the alien princess, Liara, was real. He could still feel the echo of her words in his mind. "Stay in my room tonight. There is much to see, and the city is already awake. Not all humans are welcome, and not all aliens trust strangers." Every picture seemed to move, telling stories of a civilization both ancient and advanced. Ethan reached out tentatively to touch one, and the image rippled beneath his fingers. A vision of a flying creature soared across the wall, wings sparkling like molten glass. "It's beautiful," Ethan whispered. "It feels alive." Our world grows with energy, and the walls record our history. Humans are different, of course. You do not leave such marks on your surroundings. "I see it in you already." Ethan's mouth fell open at the sight. "Do you see?" Liara asked. "Our city breathes, it moves, it protects itself when needed, but it also watches, always watching. That is why it is so difficult for strangers to find shelter here. The city itself, it's alive. That matters more than luck." The images now depicted schematics, maps of the city, corridors, defensive systems. Lights traced paths along the floors and ceilings, suggesting movement in real time. Liara stopped at a balcony overlooking a side gate. Beyond the glowing perimeter, a figure moved through the shadows, careful but deliberate. Ethan squinted, trying to make out details. It was humanoid but smaller than Liara and faster. It carried something in its hands, a device that blinked faintly. "They should not be here," Liara said, her voice low. "They are intruders not from our kingdom. Someone is trying to reach me." The figure approached the gate cautiously, scanning for movement. He noticed that the device it carried emitted a faint frequency that interfered with the palace sensors, making detection slower. "I have an idea," he said quietly. "Maybe I can distract them. If I can create a diversion, maybe we can delay them long enough for the palace to respond." Taking advantage of the pause, Ethan tossed another object in a different direction, creating a pattern of light that drew the intruder's attention. Liara watched, impressed. "Clever. Humans think differently. That may save us." The intruder's device beeped erratically, unable to compensate for the chaotic stimuli. Finally, the figure retreated into the darkness, disappearing from view. Ethan lowered his arms, breathing hard. "That should buy us some time. I just noticed what they didn't, that's all." But here on this alien world, his instincts, his quick thinking, and his ability to improvise mattered in ways he had never imagined. Liara smiled, the tension fading. "Come, you have done well. There is more to see, and we must continue." Ethan marveled at instruments he could not name, devices that glowed with energy, and walls that displayed patterns he could only describe as alive. In one chamber, Liara demonstrated a device that could project thought into images, allowing one to share experiences without words. She invited Ethan to try. Hesitant, he placed his hand on the device, focusing on a memory of Earth, a forest near his home, the sunlight breaking through trees. Instantly, the room filled with golden light and the rustling of leaves. Liara's eyes widened in delight. "You see," she said, "your experiences are unique. Humans carry beauty in ways we cannot always understand." The sun, or what humans would call a sun, was rising over the horizon, casting long, multicolored shadows across the towers. Ethan felt a sense of wonder so deep it was almost painful. He had faced danger, fear, and uncertainty, but he was alive, standing in a palace with a being who trusted him. "You see how the city watches?" Liara asked. "The lights, the patterns, they are not just decoration. They are our eyes and ears, and now you have seen them too. Those are qualities we value greatly." Every corner of the palace revealed something new, technology intertwined with nature, art integrated with function, and a civilization both beautiful and wise. By nightfall, Ethan sat with Liara in a quiet chamber, overlooking the city once more. He felt exhausted but exhilarated, the events of the day leaving him both drained and alive. He realized that he was no longer just a visitor. He had begun to earn his place, however small, in this world. "Tomorrow," Liara said softly, "we may face greater challenges, but tonight rest. You have done well, and the city, the palace, it sees you as someone worth noticing." For the first time in a long while, he felt hope, not just for survival, but for discovery, for understanding, for the chance to prove that even a human could matter on this alien world. As he drifted off to sleep in his floating bed, he knew the adventure was only beginning. The city watched, the palace hummed, and the alien princess's trust rested upon him. He was no longer simply a stranger. He was part of something larger, something extraordinary. The morning sun, or what Ethan assumed was a sun, was just beginning to rise over the alien city, casting a soft glow across the palace towers. Ethan awoke feeling the familiar hum of the building beneath him, the vibrations almost like a heartbeat. He stretched and rubbed his eyes, still amazed that he was alive, safe, and inside a palace of a world far beyond anything he had ever imagined. Liara was already waiting outside his room. Her calm demeanor and confident posture suggested she had something important to show him. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, her voice soft but carrying authority. "We have matters to attend to today. Something unusual has been detected near the outskirts of the city." He had experienced a minor scare before, but this felt different, larger, more immediate. "What can I do to help?" he asked. Liara studied him, her large eyes assessing. "Stay calm, observe. You may find ways to help that others do not see. Humans are clever in ways our sensors cannot predict." He followed Liara through a series of corridors that twisted and floated in ways that made his stomach lurch with vertigo. Each room they passed revealed more of the palace's complex systems: floating platforms, energy fields, and alien consoles that displayed streams of light and symbols moving faster than his eyes could follow. Finally, they arrived at a high balcony overlooking one of the main streets. Ethan could see several figures moving cautiously, blending with shadows. They carried devices that emitted faint pulses, probably to disrupt sensors or communication. They moved methodically, like a team well-trained for infiltration. Liara whispered, "These intruders are skilled. If they reach the inner city, chaos may follow. We must intercept them before that happens. If we change the sequence or create a distraction, it could slow them down, confuse their devices, even make them visible to palace guards." Alien symbols shifted beneath his hands, but he quickly realized the system responded to movement and energy, not just touch. Using what he had learned the day before, he began to manipulate the lights in a series of flashes and sequences, creating confusion along the street. Below, the intruders paused, clearly disturbed. Their devices beeped and flickered, unable to compensate for the sudden, chaotic patterns. Ethan adjusted the sequences, guiding their attention toward empty alleyways while signaling palace guards with subtle pulses of light. One of the intruders glanced upward and froze. The sudden flash of light from the balcony caught his attention. Ethan saw an opportunity. He angled a reflective surface he had grabbed earlier, catching sunlight and directing it at the intruder's eyes. The figure stumbled backward, shielding his eyes. Liara observed silently, impressed. "You act with precision. Humans often rely on creativity rather than brute force. That is a valuable skill." He coordinated with palace guards who moved in stealthily, using the confusion to block escape routes. The intruders realized they were trapped and attempted to flee, but Ethan's quick thinking had already predicted their paths. They ran directly into a barricade of guards, who subdued them without injury. Ethan exhaled, relief flooding through him. That worked. The realization that humans, even one human, could make a difference here filled him with pride. Liara led him away from the balcony, through corridors that seemed to pulse with quiet approval. "Come," she said. "There is more you must understand if you are to remain here safely. The city's defenses are only part of the equation. Understanding the culture, the people, and the rules is equally important." Humans were rare and their unpredictability often caused concern, but Ethan was learning that trust, once earned, could transcend these boundaries. They reached a room filled with consoles and displays. Liara gestured to a table in the center. "These devices track more than movement. They measure energy, intention, and focus. Watch carefully." Sometimes, understanding the signals is as important as responding to them. Slowly, he began to notice patterns, recurring signals, subtle variations that indicated the presence of individuals moving through the city unnoticed by most sensors. Liara watched his progress. "You notice what others cannot. Humans are unpredictable, yes, but also insightful. That is why I chose to trust you." If he could understand these patterns, he might anticipate threats before they became dangerous. It was a challenge unlike any he had faced, but he felt exhilarated. Here, his instincts, observation skills, and problem-solving mattered in ways he had never imagined. Hours passed as Ethan learned to interpret the signals, guided by Liara's patient instruction. He began to anticipate movements, detect subtle shifts in energy, and even suggest adjustments to the city's defenses. Liara listened closely, nodding when he proposed solutions. "Your understanding grows quickly," she said. "Few aliens could adapt this fast. It is remarkable." "That's all." Ethan and Liara moved quickly to a control room overlooking the main plaza. From there, they could see a figure attempting to bypass energy barriers. The intruder carried a device similar to the previous one, but faster and more precise. Liara looked at Ethan. "This is more dangerous. We must act carefully. If we use the environment, shadows, reflections, light patterns, we can slow him down, maybe even trap him like before." Ethan realized this was a more intelligent opponent, requiring faster thinking. He moved rapidly between consoles, adjusting patterns in real time. His human intuition allowed him to anticipate the intruder's next move, directing palace guards and using light as a subtle guide. The intruder tried to evade, but Ethan's strategy was precise. Eventually, the intruder reached a dead end, blocked by guards on all sides. Liara exhaled in relief. "You have done it again. Humans act with creativity. It is inspiring. You see now that humans can make a difference even in worlds far beyond their own." As the day ended, Liara led him to a quiet chamber overlooking the city lights. The intruders were secured and the city's systems had returned to their usual patterns. Ethan leaned back, exhausted but exhilarated. He realized that courage was not just facing danger, it was thinking, observing, and acting wisely when the stakes were high. "You have done well today, Ethan," Liara said softly. "You have proven that humans are not only capable but valuable. Trust, intelligence, and quick thinking, these are gifts of your kind. Remember that humans can shine, even in worlds that seem impossible to conquer." And as he drifted off to sleep, he knew tomorrow would bring more challenges, more discoveries, and another chance to prove the value of human ingenuity. The night air was crisp as Ethan stood on the balcony overlooking the city, his eyes tracing the glowing streets below. The events of the past days had left him exhausted but alert. He had learned the ways of the palace, observed the city's living systems, and proven that humans could adapt and act with skill. Yet a nagging tension hung in the air. Liara had sensed it too. Something bigger, something more dangerous than the previous intruders was approaching. "Ethan," Liara said softly, joining him on the balcony. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon where faint movement shimmered among the towers. "The intruders we faced before were scouts. This is the main group. They are determined, organized, and prepared to take risks. They will not stop until they achieve their goal. They seek to control the city, to manipulate me, and through me influence the kingdom," Liara explained. "We cannot allow that. We must act before they reach the inner districts. That is why I trust your judgment. If we can predict their approach and use the city itself," he suggested, "we can funnel them into areas where they are vulnerable. We can use the environment, the sensors, the lights, everything." Ethan directed palace drones to strategic locations, adjusting their paths based on movement patterns he observed. Lights flashed along the streets, shadows shifted, and energy barriers subtly altered to guide the intruders' progress. Ethan realized that unlike the palace guards, the city itself could act as a living trap if used cleverly. Hours passed in preparation, the tension growing with each movement of the intruders. Ethan's mind raced, calculating paths, predicting reactions, and adapting strategies on the fly. He realized that human intuition was a powerful tool even in a world far beyond Earth. As the intruders drew closer, the first signs of their approach appeared in the palace monitors. They moved quickly, coordinating with devices that pulsed with energy designed to disrupt sensors. Ethan adjusted the lights, creating patterns that confused their devices, forcing them to slow and recalibrate. He guided palace drones to hover above intersections, subtly influencing the intruders' choices without being noticed. Liara watched him with admiration. "You are brilliant," she whispered. "Humans are underestimated, but you demonstrate what they can achieve." The humans had always relied on adaptability and improvisation, and Ethan now used these traits to maximum effect. One intruder attempted to bypass the traps entirely, leaping onto an energy bridge that spanned a deep chasm in the city. Ethan acted quickly, adjusting the light patterns along the bridge. The intruder hesitated, losing balance, and palace drones gently blocked the path until guards arrived. The precision and timing amazed Liara, who had never seen such clever use of the city's features. Ethan's pulse raced. He realized that this was more than strategy. It was a test of human ingenuity against organized, determined foes. Every choice, every adjustment mattered. One mistake could allow the intruders to reach the inner city and create chaos. Hours of careful coordination culminated in a tense standoff in the central plaza. The intruders had reached the heart of the city, their devices humming as they tried to bypass the palace's defenses. Ethan observed their patterns and noticed a vulnerability, a moment when their focus shifted between multiple devices. "Now," he whispered to Liara, "activate the sequence." Ethan exhaled, relief washing over him. The city had been protected and the intruders neutralized. He had not only contributed but had been instrumental in the plan's success. The sense of accomplishment was profound. Humans, even one human, could make a real difference in a world far from home. Liara approached him, her expression a mix of pride and gratitude. "You have done more than survive, Ethan. You have led, guided, and inspired. Humans are capable of great things, and you are living proof. They are thinkers, leaders, and protectors. That is something rare even among my people." Humans brought qualities, adaptability, improvisation, and quick thinking that even the most advanced alien systems could not predict. As they reached a quiet chamber, Ethan felt a mix of exhaustion and exhilaration. He had faced danger, uncertainty, and pressure unlike anything before, yet he had succeeded. Liara offered him a simple meal, and they sat together, sharing quiet conversation. Ethan learned more about Liara's world, its history, culture, and the delicate balance of power that kept the city safe. "You see," Liara said, her eyes reflecting the soft light, "trust is not given lightly here, and yet you have earned it. Your courage and your mind have proven themselves. You are no longer just a visitor. You are someone who makes a difference. I never thought I'd be part of something so important. Back on Earth, I never imagined humans could matter like this on another world. One day, others may need to see what humans are capable of." He had faced organized, intelligent opponents and had prevailed not through brute force, but through observation, adaptability, and quick thinking. The city outside was quiet now, the lights steady and serene. Ethan felt a growing sense of belonging. He was still far from home, still surrounded by beings he barely understood, but he had proven that humans could make a difference, could protect, could lead. Liara's words lingered in his mind. Humans can shine even in worlds that seem impossible to conquer. Ethan smiled, knowing that tomorrow would bring more challenges, more discoveries, and more opportunities to prove himself. And for the first time, he felt truly ready. The palace hummed softly around him, alive and protective. Ethan closed his eyes, thinking not just of survival, but of purpose, courage, and the power of human ingenuity. He had become more than a stranger in an alien world. He had become a participant, a protector, and a symbol of what humanity could achieve. The morning light bathed the palace in a soft glow, but the calm was deceptive. Ethan could feel the tension in the air, a quiet energy that signaled something important was about to happen. The intruders from before had been contained, but intelligence reports from the palace indicated a larger, more coordinated threat approaching the city. This time, there would be no small skirmish. This was a test of strategy, courage, and human ingenuity on a scale far beyond anything Ethan had ever faced. Liara approached him in the central chamber, her expression calm but serious. "Ethan, the intruders you saw before were only the beginning. A fleet of ships has been detected at the edge of the city. They carry both troops and technology designed to bypass our defenses. If they reach the city center, the consequences could be disastrous. Then we need a plan, one that uses everything we've learned, everything the city can do, and everything I can think of." The palace hummed with quiet energy, responding to the urgency in the air. Ethan studied the city layout, noticing pathways, energy barriers, and streets that could be used strategically. He realized that the intruders would expect conventional defenses, but humans rarely followed predictable patterns. That unpredictability could become their greatest weapon. "We can divide the city into sectors," Ethan suggested, pointing at the holographic map. "We use the energy barriers to funnel their troops into narrow streets. At the same time, we adjust the lights and reflections to confuse their sensors. Palace drones can intercept, and I can coordinate the paths to anticipate their moves." "Begin." The first wave of troops disembarked, moving quickly toward the city. Ethan had predicted their paths, and the streets responded immediately. Lights flashed and shifted, creating illusions that made the intruders hesitate. Shadows moved in impossible directions, confusing sensors and devices. Drones appeared from unexpected corners, gently blocking routes without harming anyone. The intruders adapted, but Ethan anticipated each adjustment. He redirected barriers, manipulated reflections, and used the city's energy flow to guide them into corridors where palace guards waited. The first wave stumbled, slowed, and ultimately surrendered without a fight. Liara observed from a nearby platform, her eyes shining with admiration. "You are remarkable, Ethan. Humans are often underestimated, but your actions today show how valuable your kind can be." They always moved toward the brightest areas, assuming those paths were safe. Ethan adjusted the lights along the main streets, creating false channels that led directly into controlled sectors. The intruders fell for the trap, funneling into narrow alleys where drones and guards could intercept them efficiently. Despite his careful planning, one intruder broke away from the group, attempting to reach Liara directly. Ethan acted instantly, manipulating energy barriers to block the path while using reflective surfaces to blind the intruder's sensors. The figure stumbled, giving palace guards enough time to intervene. Liara's voice reached him through the comms. "Ethan, your quick thinking saved me. You acted faster than I could have imagined." Ethan's mind raced. The drones could handle some of the aerial threat, but he needed a larger plan to protect the city center. He scanned the fleet, noting the blind spots and weak angles. Then he realized the solution. The energy channels beneath the city, usually dormant, could be redirected to create controlled barriers and traps. He worked quickly, rerouting energy, coordinating drones, and adjusting lights. The intruders advanced, but the city itself seemed to move against them. Energy beams rose from the streets, guiding troops into non-lethal containment areas, while drones intercepted aerial vehicles with precision. The combination of strategy, speed, and adaptability overwhelmed the intruders. From her platform, Liara watched in awe. "You have orchestrated the city itself, Ethan. Humans can think in ways even we cannot predict. Your ingenuity has saved countless lives today." He studied its path and noticed a pattern in its movements. It relied on predictable energy flows, which Ethan could manipulate. He adjusted the city's energy channels, redirecting power to create a temporary barrier. The ship faltered, its systems unable to compensate for the sudden change. Palace drones moved in, guiding it away from the city and eventually forcing it to retreat. The remaining troops surrendered, realizing they could not overcome the human-coordinated defenses. Ethan slumped slightly, exhaustion catching up with him. He had never been so physically and mentally taxed, yet the sense of accomplishment was overwhelming. The city was safe. Liara was unharmed, and he had proven beyond doubt that humans could make a difference even in a world far from home. Liara descended from her platform, approaching Ethan with a smile that radiated pride. "You have done more than protect the city, Ethan. You have shown that humans are capable of leadership, courage, and cleverness. Even in worlds unlike your own, you shine." "I didn't think I could actually save all of this." Lights flowed smoothly, drones returned to their stations, and the energy barriers settled. Citizens began to emerge, curious but unharmed, and palace guards moved with calm efficiency. Ethan looked out at the city, the towers glowing softly under the alien sky. He realized that humans, even one human, could make a lasting impact on worlds far beyond their own. It was a lesson in courage, adaptability, and the power of intellect combined with instinct. Liara joined him at the balcony, her gaze fixed on the horizon. "Do you see, Ethan? Humans are underestimated often, yet they carry strength in their minds, hearts, and actions. You have proven that strength here today. Humans really can matter, even out here." He realized that courage was not only about facing danger, but also about thinking clearly, acting decisively, and using every tool available. The palace hummed gently, a comforting presence around him. Ethan closed his eyes, knowing that he had left a mark, not just on the city, but on the people who lived there and on Liara who had trusted him. He was no longer a stranger. He was a human who had proven that even in worlds far from home, humanity could shine. In the quiet, Liara's words lingered in his mind. Humans can shine even in worlds that seem impossible to conquer. Ethan smiled, feeling the truth of her words settle within him. He had discovered his own value, his own strength, and the power of human ingenuity. He drifted into sleep with a sense of accomplishment, the palace around him alive and protective. The city was safe, the people unharmed, and humanity had earned a place in a world far from Earth. And as he dreamed, he knew that tomorrow would bring more adventures, more challenges, and more opportunities to show the galaxy what humans could achieve. For the first time, Ethan felt not just relief or survival, but triumph. Humanity had proven itself in a place that had once seemed impossible to navigate, and he had been the instrument of that success. In a universe filled with unknowns, humans could shine. They could inspire, protect, and lead, and Ethan had done just that. The night sky swirled above the city, filled with colors and lights he had never imagined. Ethan lay back, content, proud, and ready for whatever the universe might throw at him next. He had faced fear, danger, and uncertainty, and he had prevailed. The city hummed softly, alive with energy, and for the first time in his life, Ethan felt the true power of being human.